spirit, you can feel so ashamed of allowing something like, see, when you're angry, when you're upset with someone, parents, I don't care who it is, when you're very resentful, when you're intimidated, the whole purpose of intimidation in this world, the people who in this world and of the world, is to create clones of themselves.
Yeah.
So every person who is a bully is a coward before another bully. And now the bully grows up and makes clones of themselves by doing the bullying themselves, and therefore they're passing the spore of misery, the identity, into the innocent. And when you're a child, you don't understand what's happening to you. You can't help but respond to the injustice all around you, but with anger. And little can you realize is you're not a willing party to this. You see, but this nature gets inside you and sits there, unholy, in the place of the holy. In other words, it's separated you from God, and it's sitting on this throne of judgment, on a judgment throne. And it's addicted to judgment. But you have to fail. In other words, you are entwined, you, the observer, you see, this is not easy to say, but the real you is observing now a self that's sitting on the throne of your intellect, is sitting on your subconscious throne, and you're standing back, and you're seeing this something in you judging, but it's not you that's judging, but you were part of that.
Somehow.
You were somehow part of it, and you couldn't stop it, and you didn't even know that was happening, but while you were part of it, you were guilty.
Yeah.
See that? And you were dying.
I don't want anything to do with that.
I know. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But that's the ruling entity. And the anxiety you feel, you're sort of between two worlds right now, aren't you? You're between two worlds. You're no longer part. You're no longer you're looking at this part of you that's judging without your permission. Now you're in disagreement with it. Before you were objective, before you became objective, you were in agreement with it unconsciously. You didn't know what you were in disagreement. You were struggling. You didn't like yourself. You hated yourself. You were entangled with yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
And you were dying. And there is a biological reason for all this, but I'm not going to give you the biological reason for cancer. I'm only going to give you a psychological or psycho-illogical reason for it, and we'll proceed. And so now I've taught you to be objective, but objective, because you're a good soul, I can't do this to everybody. I can't do this to Saddam Hussein. I couldn't do it to people like Adolf Hitler. Lots of wicked people in the world that enjoy their wickedness. Oh, my beautiful wickedness. You know what I mean? Like the Wicked Witch of the East or whatever it was. There's always people like that. There's some people who just enjoy that, and some people don't like themselves for being that way. I can only help people like yourself that are not in agreement, but they're sort of enslaved, and they don't understand how they're entangled and how they cannot be redeemed. And I'm giving you that secret. You have come so far as to stand back from that self that you were entangled with, that enslaved you to that. See, because it had to have your agreement, whether you liked it or not, for it to be able to go on judging and making you a slave and turning around and making other people slaves of you. Follow that?
Yes.
It had to have an agreement. Now you're no longer in agreement. However, this is how you deal with it. It wants you. You will notice that it tempts you to struggle with it. You don't want to be that way, right?
Right.
But you've got to be careful not to struggle with this willful thing. This is a willful thing. It tempts you to struggle because it wants you to struggle with the will, because you will give it power. Just like when you get upset with people on the outside, you give into it. When you struggle with your problem on the inside, you give more power to it, but now it's on the inside. You follow that?
Yes.
You become more entangled. So this is how you deal with it. Since you become separated from it, you feel very insecure and full of anxiety, and you feel helpless. Now, I know you don't like the feeling of helplessness, but I want you to endure the feeling of helplessness and know that you cannot of yourself do anything. And with that quiet knowing Know that it wants to tempt you to struggle with it. Do not. Just bear the anxiety, and as true as I'm talking to you, it will go away. And it will die a little bit, and you will live. And you will begin to live. All right? But you will not understand what you're dealing with so long as you hate evil, because it wants you to hate it. It wants you to resent it. There's the right word. It wants you to resent it. There's two forces you're caught between: the power of injustice. Injustice is a power. It's purposely unjust. There's the light of justice and the dark light of injustice. So you respond to injustice. You think the world's a perfect place. You come into the world. You don't expect your parents to be crazy and to dysfunctional, and your schools to be the way they are, and people to be the way crazy look. But they've all preceded you, and they've all got the treatment. Their perceptions have been darkened, and they've been programmed to be this. You're born in Borneo, you'll be a cannibal. You're born in the West Bank, you'll be a suicide bomber. You're born in America, you might be a Christian or an atheist, because you have choices here. But you get programmed, and you will defend the programming and the programmer, because that's your base. The dark base is God, the dark world. It makes you feel like you're God. What makes you feel good when you're bad is evil. And it rules over you, but you don't see it, because it helps to put out your light. It helps to dull your perception, the excitement of feeling good about yourself and judging somebody else, and embracing those who make you feel good about doing despicable things. It comforts you in it. Whole nations rise. Governments rise like that. When you have an immoral people, as in America, as you have more and more immoral people, they have no tolerance for nobility. It feels like a straitjacket. If people who are noble and moral naturally good, are juxtaposed to those who are unnaturally bad, and like it that way. But the fact that you exist, it feels like an imposition to them. It feels like you are laying a trip on them, trying to control them. They've become paranoid. They want to put your lights out. They want to kill you. See? Genocide. Do that in mass. It's called genocide. Always the innocent, right? You're not going to fight something bigger than yourself, because you've been transformed by something meaner than yourself. You're a clone. Creating clones. You do unto others what was done unto you. You rather rule in hell and serve in heaven. See? So you rule over something. And the frontline soldier, well, he gets the spoils of war and pillages and murders and rapes. That's what they do, those kind of people. You don't want to mess with them. Better stand your ground. But how do you do that? You have to have had clear sight as to what you're dealing with. And so, but the media, the world around you will meddle with your perception. So, the light of your earthly life, happiness, is perception. And of the perception you were born with, when you saw the injustice, you couldn't believe it. It overwhelmed you, and you end up hating, and then you couldn't face what was becoming of you, and you didn't know how to deal with the world except try to placate it, appease it, get along. All you got was more abused. Isn't that right? That's why you're ill. All that anger inside you is bottled up. You want to be a good person, but badness is growing in you, and you're confused, you're lost. Cheer up. Hear where I'm coming from. Embrace the truth of what I said. It's a little bit negative, but it's true. You do have that light. Don't be upset with it. Don't be upset with yourself. Look at the world. There are good people in it. There are good people like yourself, lost like yourself. They're there. You can't distinguish them sometimes because they're acting bad, like you do. You're acting weird. You're angry. You're weak, wimpy, you're drunk. You're a drug addict. Who are you to judge everybody? But you do. You got friends that support you the way you are. That lot of good that is. What kind of friends they are? They're called fiends. They've also got friends. They've also been demoralized. They need your friendship. You need their friendship. Thieves and robbers loving thieves and robbers. That's all we are. What profit when we love that way? So don't you see, our perceptions are upheld by false love. Anger separating us from godly love. And then making us need the worldly love. We fall when we're angry. We are separated from the good. Anger, resentment separates us from the good by which we can overcome the evil. And in comes evil. In comes dark side. And it's got a nature that cries out to what created it, or recreated it inside you in its image. And therefore you cry to it, the world. You cry to materiality.